Hi, this is Tim Olson, your local real estate expert here in Eastern Washington. We're going to discuss today the real estate market as of June 2020. We'll be using data from May because that's the most recent data we have, but I'm going to cover some of the hyper local trends that we're seeing, some of the activity we're seeing, and then some of the things to think about that's sure is on all your minds as we continue to work through this COVID epidemic on the national economy and potential housing market interference in the future. I always like to begin these housing market updates, which I do monthly, with the Spokane Housing Market Update provided by John L. Scott. They go through a lot of different numbers to try to provide us as much detail as possible that we can then again share with you. As you look at this form, you'll see that in the $0 to $250,000 price range, we're at 0.4 months of supply versus 0.3 months last month, and that 88.6% of the homes go pending within the first 30 days. You'll be able to see that between 250,000 and 350,000, that we have 0.4 months of inventory versus 0.6, with 74.9% of the homes going under contract in the first 30 days. And then again, between 350 and 500,000, we have 0.8 months of inventory. This is versus 1.2 last month, with 65.7% of our homes going under contract in the first 30 days. The reason that I highlight this 0 to 500,000 is because that's about 92% or 93% of our market here in Eastern Washington. One of the other things I'm often asked about is interest rates. Last month, we were around 3.19% interest rates. We've seen them bounce around quite a bit due to some of the impacts and some of the secondary effects of the help that the government's trying to provide. We're at this month right around 3.07, and some say we're going even lower. So the inventory just paints part of a picture when we're discussing what's happening in our local markets. We also, according to the Spokane Association of Realtors, see sales down 21.7%. That's compared to a year ago. So total number of sales for the month of May was about 501 versus 687 a year ago at this time. So our spring market has gotten pushed into summer. We're calling summer the new spring. Average prices are up about 8.4% versus a year ago, and inventory continues to dwindle according to their report also. Another measurement of the activity is distressed sales. They're only 1.2% of sales in May versus 1.9% a year ago. So as you can see, we don't see a lot of distressed sales going on in our market currently. In the last part of this video, we're going to discuss 4 different parts that I think are important as we move forward. These 4 are: number 1, the economic recovery update; 2, unemployment; number 3, the benefits of home ownership; and number 4, forbearance and what that means. One of the ways the government tried to contain this virus was to shut various parts of the economy down, much of a freeze for most of everything, in an economy that was doing relatively well until the first quarter. As you can see on this chart, many analysts are expecting for us to have a rebound in the second half, while being down 5% in GDP the first quarter and down much larger in the second quarter, thereby meeting the definition of recession by being down and having negative growth in 2 quarters. We do expect to see somewhat of a rebound going on in the third and fourth quarter into 2021. One of the interesting things that I really want to reiterate is that just because we enter a recession doesn't necessarily mean that the housing prices go down. As you can see on this chart, many of the different experts out there are expecting our market to increase in prices between 2021 and 22. This is a very positive sign that you can still be safe and feel good about getting into the real estate market, as it's one of the better investments out there. This is just one of the points that I wanted to reiterate on why homeownership is a good idea. I also want to highlight some other things that are not financially related, such as physical comforts, financial investment, privacy, accomplishment, and personal expression. These are all very, very important aspects to consider when buying a home and owning a home. I see smiles on my clients' faces every time we get a chance to close on a new purchase for them. I also want to just touch on forbearance. Forbearance is a program that the government came out with this year to try and help homeowners not have to walk away from their homes. It gives them some time to work with their lenders to not make payments on time and make up for those payments sometime on the end. Now, the study came out this week that showed 4.3 million Americans have taken advantage of this forbearance program. That's about 8.5% of total mortgages out there. The interesting thing is to note is that only about 10% of those people have less than 10% equity in their homes. So while that's a big number and there's a lot of people that are hurting right now, there's a lot of people that are hurting, but they have a lot of equity in their homes. And that's a real positive for not only individuals as we go forward and with the wealth effect, but also for the housing market, and that we don't have any unexpected consequences of this forbearance program. One final message I have for you is if you're a buyer or a seller waiting for the COVID conditions to become more cleaned up, just be careful because the market right now is moving very, very quickly. This market usually lasts this kind of strength for the summertime. I don't know when the COVID conditions will be totally cleaned up as we go through these different phases in Eastern Washington. But one of the things I can say is business is not back to normal. We are taking extra precautions as realtors in our industry to care for both the buyers and sellers. I'm doing specific things for my sellers and for my buyers in order to protect them, to make sure that going forward that we're not subjecting you to any other type of virus that we didn't have to before. So with that said, please reach out if you have any questions. My name is Tim Olson. I'm a real estate agent with John L. Scott.